I feel the need for speed.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Doing a movie review now. This is nice. This will be my first one. A lot of what I've done right now is trailer reactions, but I'm really excited about this video because I feel like this is really going to show you guys what kind of passion I have and what I want to put out here on this platform because I love talking about film. I love how it connects you with people all around the world. You guys, you feel the same things generally, emotion-wise, and it's meant to evoke those emotions. And to me, that's a very powerful thing. And it's something that I'm super passionate about when it comes to the aspects of the emotional and metaphysical, like relatability that it has to us as human beings. And that is something that I'm really drawn to. But today's review is going to be for the new Top Gun film that just came out in May. Yes, I know a lot of you are thinking like, oh, this movie came out a month ago. Where were you? Like, obviously, I didn't have this channel started yet. But and another thing is, I didn't see the original movie or have never seen it, so I only felt right that it'd be right that I would have to watch the first film before seeing this one, and so I did. Watched it with my friend Bishan Sebi, who I've had on the channel. Um, and I thought it was a really good movie for an '80s action flick. It was something that I feel like for the what kind of film it was and what the subject matter was about, it very much exceeded expectations, and it even for a 1986 movie, it looked like it was kind of in the early 90s, early 2000s era of filmmaking, and visually, the way that holds up is amazing. So that goes to show you how iconic it made it for its originality. Um, but what's so ironic about this new film is you really don't need to see the first one to understand this film. And to me, that's amazing, and it just indicates that um, they designed this movie for the interest of younger audiences, and I mean kids like me who weren't alive during the '80s when the original movie came out, which makes sense. And a lot of what they did here was they leveled up the action.
Someone's not coming back from this.
Those are your pilots. Anything happens to them.
First thing I want to do is kind of give you guys my own little synopsis for the movie to pique your general interest and kind of have a little bit of background knowledge going into this review. Disclaimer, this is a non-spoiler review. I intend to make my videos very non-spoilerish. I'm not going to flat out tell you what happens in the movie. My goal here is to get you guys to pique your interest to go see it. Um, because one thing that this movie does incredibly well is remind us as audience members how important the movie going experience is and going to the theater and having that experience. Because since COVID, it's been a rough couple years for theaters and how that's held up and the financial losses in that regard. But I really truly believe that the reason they held off on the release of this movie, because it was originally supposed to come out in 2020, was so that people could enjoy this film in its entirety and how it was meant to be seen. And I'll get into more of why I say that later on in the review. But for our synopsis, so Top Gun Maverick is a sequel to the 1986 film Top Gun. The story picks up 35 years later after the events of the first film, and it gives us our main character codenamed Maverick, played by Tom Cruise, whose role within the United States Air Force is a test pilot for the military, testing state-of-the-art aircraft. When his superior general makes his way to base to ground him for good, he informs Maverick that he's been called back to Top Gun. This is known to pilots as the elite top-tier training division for the top 1% of men and women in the Air Force. Only the best of the best make it to this program. Tom Cruise's character is tasked with being the new Top Gun instructor by the recommendation of his old cohort and frenemy, Iceman Kolansky, to instruct the new selected few to embark on a dangerous mission with the strong possibility of not everyone making it back home due to the extreme and multi-level challenge the mission itself is detailed as. And no, I didn't read that off the internet anywhere. Those are my words. Trust. Um, so that's your little synopsis for you. And so a little bit of background knowledge. So Top Gun is an actual thing in the U.S. Navy and Air Force, and it's a program that, like I said, only the top 1% make it to. And I understand with the original film and this film, Tom has an incredible respect for what those brave men and women do for us in our country, and the movie definitely conveys that, and it does it beautifully. Um, But let me pull up my notes here, see how I want to continue. So first of all, this movie is a good length. It is a pretty good lengthy movie. It's definitely something that you kind of don't even pay attention to the time, because when I tell you this film is you're invested in the time in this movie and you're on the edge of your seat the whole time, you are. I've seen it twice in the theater. First time I saw it was with Bish and Sebi again, and my buddy Ben. Um, and I had such a good time with it. Like, I hadn't felt that kind of a feeling watching a movie in a long time. And I knew that, and I hadn't really even seen any of the trailers before this movie came out, because again, I hadn't seen the original up until this point. So what's kind of crazy is I watched the original film and this new one within a week's time. So I experienced both movies, all those years between both films being made, within a week. It's crazy to think about. But being that I did that, the original movie was so fresh on my mind that I didn't struggle with where characters left off, because this movie does pick up 35 years after the first one, where these characters left off in their lives, and you kind of see how they've grown, how they've changed. That being more so Maverick, Iceman. Iceman in the original movie is Tom Cruise. Him and Tom Cruise's character, they butt head quite a bit, because Iceman views him as a risk out on the airfield, because he is very cocky and he feels like that'll get the best of him. And he's a very highly esteemed pilot, because he was with that top 1% of people, and he kind of um, had that snarky cockiness to him, but it was in the way that he was one of the best of the best, and him and Tom butt heads. But as the movie goes on, they grow a beautiful relationship, and by the end of it, Iceman hits him with "You can be my wingman anytime," and from there on, a friendship was formed. So he's in this movie. We'll get into Val Kilmer later in the review, because that's some pretty heavy stuff. Um, but starting simply with the characters. So in this movie, you have Tom Cruise obviously plays Maverick. You have Val Kilmer as Iceman, just as he was in the original movie, as I said. Miles Teller, though, and he is the son of one of the major characters in the original film that, uh, spoiler warning, leave this video or click 10 seconds forward if you don't want to hear this, is the son of the character whom Tom Cruise was co-piloting his or his fighter jet with. I don't remember the exact name of the plane. I'm not big on that. Um, but he passes away and dies at the end of the movie. It's a very tragic, or towards the end of the movie, before the big finale happens, and it hits him pretty hard. So what's cool is that's the emotional core of the story in this movie, is the relationship with Tom Cruise and his old cohort Iceman, in relation to things that happened in the original movie. But the true emotional core of the story is Miles Teller's character, who codename Rooster. His dad was codename um, shit. One moment. His buddy Goose. I'm sorry, I forgot his code name. Anyways, Goose was Maverick's old co-pilot in navigation, in the navigation portion of the plane, and they had a really good relationship, and that's why when that death happens in the movie, it's super emotional and impactful. And I guess that death, because with both these movies, they worked heavily with the Navy, and they wanted it to portray these men and women who do these uh, acts and this program as accurately as possible. And that's something you got to respect about Tom Cruise, because he is truly all about authenticity. And if there's one thing Tom Cruise is, he's kind of gives you that old school Hollywood star. And when I say old school, I'm talking like 40s, 50s, 60s Hollywood stars. In that era, like, you had your Hollywood star who would star in all the films, and everything was about but that's the thing with Tom Cruise, is he gives you that feeling because he's all about real locations, real action sequences, more practical versus CGI effects, and that's another thing that was refreshing about this movie was the fact that it was not really heavily involved with CGI. A lot of the stuff that you do see is practical and actually done for real. That goes for the flying sequences. It was absolutely incredible. Like I can't even begin to describe to you how gut-wrenching the action in this movie was. Like you could feel it. And like I didn't even see this movie in IMAX, and if I saw it in that format with that sound design, holy crap, because even in just a standard movie showing, I was feeling the rumbling. I'll say this isn't too much of a spoiler, it's more of a shot. There's a shot in the film where they're shooting flares out of their fighter jet, and it has this cool POV shot of the flares coming out from underneath, and it's going rapid fire like blocking these missile barrages, and every flare that came out was almost like the beat of a drum on my heart. Like I could feel it, and then my seat would rumble, and like I felt myself rumbling, rattling in my seat, and I just felt so invigorated into the action. It was so incredible, and that to me was just proved the authenticity. Now, obviously, a lot of the missile stuff and those little details, that's all probably fake, but other than that, there's no CGI. So everything you're seeing in terms of the flying is real. And what's amazing is Tom Cruise actually taught the actors because he, for many years, rejected ideas on sequels to this movie because he felt like it had to be the right time and everything had to be right. Which rightfully so, because as a man of film, he respects nostalgia, and it's not even just nostalgia. He just doesn't want to make a movie that didn't get time and effort put into it well, and he wanted the emotional core of the story to be there, and he made sure of all that. But what's amazing is other than teaching how all these actors how to fly, because he flies, he owns his own fighter jet. It's crazy. Um, but he taught them all to fly. But what's amazing is all the aerial sequences where they're in the cockpits talking to each other. He basically had to teach them cinematography and how to start the camera and how to mark and like be on point because when they're in the air, all the actors would have to queue up their things. So if they didn't get their footage, that would have been really bad because the fuel on those jets is expensive and all that stuff's expensive. So that comes down to the movie budget and everything. Um, but yeah, he taught them all, and the actors talk about this in several different forms of media. They did it behind the scenes. Um, but they couldn't believe how incredibly articulate and involved Tom Cruise is in making these movies because the man's a legend. I mean, he's been in so much and he's got such a great filmography. But he's very inventive in the way he makes movies. The actors were in awe of the way he would uh, think about doing shots and setting up cameras, and he even is so inventive to the point where he sometimes has created new things for these movies. So I think having an actor that's that committed to not only the story but the technical side of making this movie, it's a recipe for success. I mean, you have great directors working with great talent, with great actors. Like, it's just a recipe for success. I mean, this cast is incredible. Other than Miles Teller, Tom Cruise, and Val Kilmer are like the main characters of the story. And obviously, the other fighter pilots are too, but they're more side characters. You know what I mean? They're there to support the supporting characters and give you more of the story. So I didn't really have a problem with any characters in this movie. Character wise, there are some tidbits of this story where like they had a little love interest for Tom Cruise's character, which it was nice. It added to the film a little bit, but honestly, if you took all that stuff out of the movie, you'd still have the same film at its core. Um, the impact that those scenes had was very minimalistic and kind of just were kind of filler scenes to like break up from everything that was going on emotionally, which you need to have those and you have those breathers sometimes. Um, but her and then something that really kind of like I think about a little bit, but it grew on me on the second showing. Sandman. He's one of the other characters in the movie, and he just absolutely Um, he's just that cocky prick. I'm gonna come out and say it. Like he's just that guy that wants to rattle your cage, and he gets under Rooster's skin because of what he knows about his dad's past with Maverick, and that causes tension between him and Tom Cruise in the movie, Miles Teller's character. Um, and that's where the emotional beat. I was more emotionally invested in this movie than I have been in a set of characters in the longest time. Um, and what this film does for aviation and flying and what the Navy does, like it's all so beautiful. It's I can't even stress enough how good this movie is. Um, but the true emotional core of the story is Rooster is upset with Tom Cruise, his character Maverick, because of something that he does. Maverick did this act out of spite of what happened to his dad. I'm not going to say specifically what it is, because obviously, again, I don't want to spoil the movie. I want you guys to go see it. But right there, that causes some tension between them. But then by the end of the movie, with the stakes and the final act of this film is just gut wrenching. You're just in the action the whole time. And what they do with this flying and this mission they go on, it is so, so insane. Um, yeah, I really can't put into words how else to put it, but just some iconic stuff they put in there. They had to sprinkle it in there, something original from the original film. Um, but by the end of the movie, uh, him and Rooster fly this jet together due to the circumstances of a scene, and Rooster saves Maverick, and they end up getting saved by another character in the film, which I will not say. And again, I'm being very vague because I don't want to throw away the movie. But yeah, so all in all, the flying sequences, the action scenes, uh, all of this stuff combined, the story, it tops the first Top Gun movie. And that's crazy because I enjoyed the first one for what it was. But this one really expanded upon it and really gave you that heartwarming feel. Um, and it was just awe-inspiring. Um, it's probably the most epic movie experience I've had in 5 years. It's up there. So obviously it's not, I say that, but obviously there's movies like Spider-Man No Way Home. That was a pretty huge experience I had back in December. So that's a couple months, that's like half a year prior to this. Um, Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, 2018, 2019, like that was a cool wrap up to 10 years of what Marvel Studios had done. Those four movies though are like the ones that stand out to me in terms of theatrical experiences I've had in the past 5 years. Absolutely stunning. Top Gun is definitely up there though in that list of top 4 or 5 movies. Um, so, and I've never been so eager to talk about a movie in so long. Like this movie really hit me by surprise and just the timing of it all that I had to get this review out. Because I want to urge all of you to go see this movie in the theater at least once. This is a film you have to experience in the theater, and the reason I say that, yeah, you can wait till it comes on demand or on your streaming platform, or you can buy it on Blu-ray, DVD, whatever you do. But you lose a lot of aspects of what makes it an experience. This movie is an experience, and you have to experience it as intended. Um, it's got great rewatchability. It's through the roof. It's emotional and heartfelt, as I said. Um, and what they did with like the film and the way they structured it is so amazing because the structure follows the original structure of the original movie in terms of the plot, but there's little differences here and there that make it differentiable from that original one. And the story follows the same plot structure as the original one. But there's a lot of it comes down to the characters and the emotional core of what this movie is about, and it's truly inspiring. Um, but yeah, if your generational people do not have to see that original '80s movie to like this movie. Um, this movie is meant to because what they do with like the flashbacks and they really connect that first movie to this one and that's just how the story progressed and it's a natural story progression 35 years apart so you understand the emotional side of this story because that's what at its core and I think because of that that's why it's better than the first one because the first one was all the flashy Guns and Roses, Highway to the Danger Zone plays in the beginning of the movie. It's all about aviation, but this one really had an emotional side to it, and the characters all meant something and had a reason for being there, and they mattered, which is huge. Um, it gives you such a warm feeling by the end. I can't even describe to you the feeling this movie gave me. But it really reminds me why I love filmmaking, and it's why I wanted to get on here and talk about it. Um, Definitely going to urge you guys once again to go see it in the theater. I'll even go with you. For those of you that know me that watch my videos and you have my social media, my number for that matter, text me. Let's go see it again. If it's an IMAX, cool. Haven't seen it yet. Um, But yeah, you guys really need it. This is probably going to be one of the best movies of the year. It's already hit almost eight. It's already surpassed $800 million at the box office. That's the second most. That's the second highest grossing film the Paramount Pictures has ever had in their run of making films, and it's on set to go to be Tom Cruise's best movie of all time. And I really think that speaks to his career and like what kind of passion he has as an actor, filmmaker. It's really awesome. And yeah, I hope it surpasses a billion. I did hear a little bit about a lawsuit that came up regarding the film today and the original, I guess, magazine article people who inspired the first movie. I don't know too much on the situation, but definitely need to let this film have its success. It definitely deserves it. There's a lot of love put into it and a lot of nostalgia. And Tom Cruise wanted this movie to be right and be the way that he wanted it to be, and I think he delivered on that. And I think all the actors do an incredible job. Miles Teller's great in this movie. Haven't seen him in a hell of a lot, but I love what he did here, and just the casting of him. And even though it's just a mustache, he looks just like uh the natural progression. Like I said, he looks just like his dad, or his dad, um, in the original film at Goose, and it's awesome because it makes you believe it, and it makes that emotional side come out a lot more. But yeah, guys, this is another video. Definitely excited about this one. Thank you if you watched this whole video. Leave a like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, leave a comment down in my comment section below if you've seen the film. Definitely want to hear your thoughts on it, how you liked it. Um, but let me know. Do you think they could make a sequel? Do you think it's better off if they keep it without being a sequel? Definitely interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this. And if you haven't seen it yet, go see it. I promise you will have such a good time. But yeah, so that's it for me. Good seeing you guys again in another video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Go tell someone you love them today. Peace.
You will never forgive yourself.
No turning back now.
Having any fun yet?